So the idea here is to grow this organically. We need, rather like the Academic Freedom Alliance that Robbie George created earlier this year, we need breadth. And we need to show that this is not some kind of institutionalization of the intellectual dark web, though we welcome founding members of that nebulous body. It's really something designed for all of academia to provide a kind of reboot that I think we all agree is needed.
Is there a George Washington type figure? Is there a president elected yet, or who's going to lead this institution?
Panos Canellos, the former president of St. John's, is the president of University of Austin, and so he is our George Washington. I don't know who Alexander Hamilton is. I'll leave you to guess.
It's funny you mentioned IDW, Intellectual Dark Web. Have you talked to your friend Sam Harris about any of this? He is another person I really admire, and I've talked to online and offline quite a bit, for not belonging to any tribe. He stands boldly on his convictions when he knows they're not going to be popular. He basically gets canceled by every group. He doesn't shy away from controversy, and not for the sake of controversy itself. He is one of the best examples to me of a person who thinks freely. I disagree with him on quite a few things, but I deeply admire that he is what it looks like to think freely by himself. It feels to me like he represents a lot of the ideals of this kind of effort.
Yes, he would be a natural fit. Sam, if you're listening, I hope you're in. I think in the course of his recent intellectual quests, he did collide with one of our founders, Heather Hying. So we'll have to model civil disagreement at the University of Austin. It's extremely important that we should all disagree about many things, but do it amicably. One of the things that has been lost sight of, perhaps it's all the fault of Twitter, or maybe it's something more profound, is that it is possible to disagree in a civil way and still be friends. I certainly had friends at Oxford who were far to the left of me politically, and they are still among my best friends. So the University of Austin has to be a place where we can disagree. We can disagree vehemently, but we can then go and have a beer afterwards. That's in my mind a really important part of university life, learning the difference between the political and the personal. So Sam is, I think, a good example, as are you, of a certain kind of intellectual hero who has been willing to go into the cyber sphere, the metaverse, and carve out an intellectual space, the podcast, and debate everything fearlessly. His essay, it was really an essay on Black Lives Matter and the question of police racism, was a masterpiece of 2020. And so he, I think, is a model of what we believe in. But we can't save the world with podcasts, good though yours is, because there's a kind of solo element to this form of public intellectual activity. It's also there in Substack, where all our best writers now seem to be, including our founder, Barry Weiss. The danger with this approach is ultimately your subscribers are the people who already agree with you, and we are all therefore in danger of preaching to the choir. I think what makes an institution like University of Austin so attractive is that we get everybody together at least part of the year, and we do that informal interaction at lunch, at dinner, that allows, in my experience, the best ideas to form. Intellectual activity isn't really a solo voyage. Historians often make it seem that way, but I've realized over time that I do my best work in a collaborative way, and scientists have been better at this than people in the humanities. But what really matters, what's magical about a good university, is that interdisciplinary, serendipitous conversation that happens on campus. Tom Sargent, the great Nobel Prize-winning economist, and I used to have these kind of random conversations in elevators at NYU or in corridors at Stanford. And sometimes they'd be quite short conversations, but in that short serendipitous exchange, I would have more intellectual stimulus than in many a seminar lasting an hour and a half. So I think we want to get the Sam Harrises and Lex Fridmans out of their darkened rooms and give them a chance to interact in a much less structured way than we've got used to. Again, it's that sense that sometimes you need some freewheeling, unstructured debate to get the really good ideas. I mean, to talk anecdotally for a moment, I look back on my Oxford undergraduate experience, and I wrote a lot of essays and attended a lot of classes, but intellectually, the most important thing I did was to write an essay on the Viennese satirist Karl Kraus for an undergraduate discussion group called the Canon Club. And I probably put more work into that paper than I put into anything else, except maybe my final examinations, even although there was only really one senior member present, the historian Jeremy Cato. I was really just trying to impress my contemporaries. And that's the kind of thing we want. The great intellectual leaps forward occurred often in somewhat unstructured settings. I'm from Scotland, you can tell from my accent a little at least. The Enlightenment happened in late 18th century Scotland in a very interesting interplay between the universities, which were very important, Glasgow, Edinburgh, St Andrews, and the coffee houses and pubs of the Scottish cities, where a lot of unstructured discussion, often fueled by copious amounts of wine, took place. That's what I've missed over the last few years. Let's just think about how hard academic social life has become, that we've reached the point that Amy Chua becomes the object of a full-blown investigation and media storm for inviting two Yale Law School students over to her house to talk. I mean, when I was at Oxford, it was regarded as a tremendous honor to be asked to go to one of our tutors' homes. The social life of Oxford and Cambridge is one of their great strengths. There's a sort of requirement to sip unpleasant sherry with the dons. And we've kind of killed all that. We've killed all that in the US because nobody dares have a social interaction with an undergraduate or exchange an informal email in case the whole thing ends up on the front page of the local or student newspaper. So that's what we need to kind of restore, the social life of academia.